Well, welcome back, folks. Here we are in East Philadelphia, Ropeadope TV, and yet again, another special guest, Mr. Brian Donohoe.
Hi.
Welcome. Welcome.
Very happy to be here.
We just sat outside and had a little pre-show conversation, which solved most of the problems of the universe.
Yeah, we usually do that within about 10 minutes, I think. Yeah. People should really listen to us.
I love your mind, man. It's always turning.
Thanks.
We start with how we met. So.
Yeah, sweet. Well, let's see. I guess the first time we probably met was... I mean, I think you probably heard me play with Snarky Puppy before we met, but I think we met through either Mike Cammers with the MK Groove Orchestra or Wes Stevenson and the Funky Knuckles.
Funky Knuckles, right.
So I know,
let's go back then. Sorry, go ahead.
I know at the very least you came to one of our shows at the Grape Room in
Manayunk in Philadelphia.
Yeah, in Manayunk. And we were hanging.
Right.
We had a good little hang there with. It was us. We were on tour with the Funky Knuckles and had a. Those are always very educational and amusing experiences.
Well, it was so good. Who was there that night? So Wes, obviously.
Wes, me, their crew, Phil Alleney,
Phil,
Evan Weiss, Ben Borquez, Caleb McCampbell.
Caleb, that would be where I first met Caleb, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Caleb's. I just hung with Caleb the other night. He was in town playing at the Blue Note with Stanley Clark. And he and another Dallas guy, Mike Mitchell, who were both, I mean, they're both, I think, I would consider Caleb and Mike both prodigies of the Dallas scene. And
yeah, prodigies.
They sounded very, very good with Stanley. And we had a nice little hang afterwards.
So Mike has a record coming up.
Mike Mitchell?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think in the fall.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Looks going to be good.
That's going to be I've heard some things.
He's
just like, get your head around it.
Yeah.
It's going to take a minute. Yeah.
He's no slouch at music.
So go back in years I want to cover the Snarky Puppy history a little bit. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that? So what years would I have seen you?
Well, I was a regular Snarky Puppy contributor until just for like the first 5 years or so of the band. So starting when we first started rehearsing together in probably like 2004, when Mike started setting up rehearsals in Denton. Most of us were still in school. And then we started touring for a few years and released a few records, so I'm on 3 of their records, up to Bring Us the Bright.
Got it.
And so I was playing with them pretty regularly through about 2009, and then on and off for a couple of years after that.
Gotcha. So I might have seen you during one of those on and offs.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
we're kind of in that 2009, 2010 zone forward.
Bingo. Yeah.
Cool. So, but you went to UNT?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
But where are you from?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
So you say Denton?
I say Denton. Oh. I say Denton when I'm not. If I've been around Texas people long enough, I'll start saying Denton.
Right. So you say it properly.
Yeah.
Which Dallas and New Jersey people from Trenton would probably disagree with me. But I do like the parallel between Trenton and Denton.
That's pretty funny.
That's good. So last year, you put out a record with us, Scattering.
Yes.
Progger. I'm going to open this one.
Please do.
I need you to sign this one.
I will be happy to. Yeah, I can't. It's been almost a year. I cannot believe it's been almost a year already.
Has it been? What was the release date again?
April 22nd, I think.
It's flying.
Yeah.
Time's flying.
It still seems like the new record to me.
So let's unpack this and wrap it just for the camera.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Is that art?
Emilia Mendes of Lisbon, Portugal, who is responsible for lots of amazing album covers these days.
It's stunning.
I didn't even tell her what to do. I just sent her the tracks. She listened to it for a week and came up with that. And she's a genius.
Yeah, I really like the way she balances color.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, and she puts together. You wouldn't think I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't think it would work. But she makes it work, and it feels very tribal.
Yeah, right.
Like old world tribal. So this took. I don't think that we have a single record on Ropeadope that ventures into progressive rock, and that is where you're venturing with the name Progger. And you want to talk about that? Educate me.
Yeah.
Because you know what?
Sure.
I don't know a damn thing about it. Talk to me about your inspiration and why Progger.
So the name actually started out mostly as a joke. So this is a fun fact, a little known fact these days. Our original Austin, Texas supporters will remember that we started as a band called Progress. We were a Progress for about a year and a half or maybe 2 years before I changed it. I actually came up with the name Progger years ago as a MySpace page for my dorky electronic tracks that sounded like video game music.
And referencing Progger here?
Exactly. It was like progressive Progger. And so, but I've always been into really progressive music. I've been into progressive rock, progressive jazz, and funk and fusion. And, you know, I mean, the stuff that really turned me on early in my musical life was like music like The Police and Sting and Peter Gabriel and Pink Floyd and like progressive rock kind of stuff like that.
Am I wrong in saying progressive rock? I mean, I feel it in there, but maybe I'm just
not at all. You're not off at all.
Okay.
It is definitely, there's a lot of progressive rock. We're actually playing a prog rock festival in October called Progtoberfest.
Progtoberfest
in Chicago, which is going to be a blast. And so yeah, there's a big prog rock element to it in a lot of ways, but it's more prog jazz or prog funk than prog rock. There is a rock element to the music for sure. Like me and like most of the other musicians in the group have a very strong, or at least many of them have a strong rock foundation. You know, we grew up playing in garage bands and listening to Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and stuff like that.
So how do you define? I mean, we all can throw the word around progressive rock. Those of us who don't know, but how did that come about, and what distinguishes progressive rock from rock?
I mean, you'll probably get a billion different answers to that question, but for me, it's actually for me, it's really about the composing. Okay. I would say that in any kind of progressive popular music, if you want to put a label on it, and you could take any genre of popular music and make it prog in a sense. I think just by having really well thought out, smart writing.
Okay.
And well thought out, smart writing, genuinely good writing is rare in every discipline. It's rare in movies, it's rare in TV shows, it's rare in books, it's rare in magazines.
It's rare on blogs.
It's rare on
blogs.
It's rarest maybe on the internet.
In the comments section.
Exactly, yeah. YouTube, Yahoo Answers. That's where some of the greatest prose in the world can be found. No, but I love good writing. I write a lot of like prose myself. You know, I blog a fair amount, and you know, I used to write lots of short stories and stuff like that. So I mean, I really love writing in every sense, whether it's music or words. So bands like Pink Floyd, and one of my favorite examples of prog rock that is still really accessible and like makes you feel something is Peter Gabriel. If you take his album So, it's got hits, it's got pop hits on it that are super catchy, but the lyrics and the music behind them are super deep that if you really listen to it closely, it'll give you chills.
So when you say deep, do you mean elaborate and complex?
Maybe.
And the same question is when you say good writing, is it often defined by elaborate or complex?
It is not always, for sure. It's really, and it's, I guess it's hard. It's going to be hard to put it into concise terms, but yeah, there can be an elaborate element to it. And for somebody like Peter Gabriel or Sting, for example, like you could have a very visceral, singable, easy to latch onto surface element, and that's what draws you in. But the underscoring, the writing behind the melody, the foundation, the interlocking rhythmic patterns, the harmonies, and the lyrics even too. I mean, good lyrics are so hard to find. You know.
Yeah, I'm a huge lyrics person, and lyrics don't stand the test of time like instrumental stuff does.
Very often they don't.
And you find out that song that you loved is really not that well written.
Yeah, lyrics are terrible, right?
I've gone there with some early David Bowie stuff. I listened to that as a kid, and then 20 years later I was like, And then Bruce Springsteen kind of has both.
Yeah, sure.
Some really well-written stuff, and then some like, what?
Yeah, and there are the rare artists that have both. Sting and Peter Gabriel and Paul Simon, I think, is one that has both, has always had both. There's this British band called Elbow that is absolutely incredible, that is similarly sophisticated musically and production-wise. They're on point. Lyrics-wise, they're just absolutely, like, haunting and beautiful. And
I asked a question about complexity because I like to write some things. I write on the blog, and I always take it back to this little story. So I was at a meeting once with a record industry guy and a manager, and the record industry guy was giving the manager a hard time about his band. And he was like, you got to have a logo. You really don't have a logo. You need to get an artist and have a logo. And the manager's like, we have a logo. And the record industry guy goes, yeah, I have a logo too. It's called Helvetica. Right? In a really nasty way. So I was just getting into the business of trying to understand what was he talking about, right? So I went home and I don't know if you Googled then. You did. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, web crawler, man.
In something, whatever, in these years, in the internet years. And I Googled Helvetica logos, or I searched it, and everything came up.
Yeah.
The biggest brands in the world have Helvetica, and Helvetica is one of the simplest fonts. And then, over time, with Ropeadope, what we've done in web design, in posts on the blog, in posts on social media, we'll take things away. We subtract constantly in order to get to what we think is good look or good writing. And I'll literally go through a paragraph and take a word out and say and read it again. And if it reads the same, then I didn't need that word. So that I'm just contrasting that with when you're saying well written and progressive. So
totally,
where's the line between the simplicity and the elaborate?
It's what it comes down to ultimately when it comes musically. In terms of literature, what you're talking about is, I mean, there's really clear examples. If you look at like Kurt Vonnegut or Ernest Hemingway, like they are utterly clear, to the point, no extra words at all. They convey a feeling really powerfully and really efficiently, and I think that's how the best music is too. I am definitely a dork for like complex, chaotic, like wash of sound over you kind of thing, but it's got to be contrasted with some clarity. And you
can't just ramble.
Right. You gotta have.
We can't just have extra words just for the sake of looking elaborate. Right?
That's the worst. That's the worst thing you can do. It's gotta be. If there is anything there, it has to be there for a reason. So complex composition is good if it's complex to serve the musical element. So that goes back to the old, the old jazz saying or music saying, if it sounds good, it is good. Right? And that has to ultimately be the decider. There are lots of things out there, there's lots of music out there that I think that people are so in love with the idea of what they think it should be or could be that they don't actually listen to the aesthetic result. And that results into some very artsy albums that seem like they should be cool, and what people don't really want to acknowledge is that they don't actually sound very good. And I think it's because people are so in love with certain ideas and forcing something to work and really insisting that this is what it's going to be.
As well as the marketing.
Sure, yeah.
The vibe, it's like going to the museum.
Yeah, right.
And nobody wants to say, it's the Emperor Wears No Clothes. You don't want to say that it's too complex or I can't get it.
There are lots of...
Or it's lousy.
Yeah.
And when someone's saying, look at the compositional elements, the way he uses color and the light, and, and then there's a story about his absinthe habit or whatever. Right.
Quite a lot of nude emperors in the arts world.
There we go. Yeah. Not as many as in politics.
Maybe not. That's going to be a different show.
Bring it back to politics.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to say, what you're saying inspires me because when I tried to learn how to play music and found out that it was really fucking hard. In which my respect for musicians went, through the roof. I was stunned to find out how simple Pink Floyd songs were.
Yeah, right.
Just like, and to each other.
Yeah.
It was like, wait, those are the same chords. They just moved those around,
Yeah.
And yet they're they sound incredibly lush and
they sound great.
Elaborate, right?
And the wall is an unmistakable work of art. I mean, it's just like, it's so well made. And I can't imagine the amount of time that Roger Waters spent, you know, cutting things away and changing things until it was just right. And he's an artist. He's a real Roger Waters, absolute, unquestionable artist, you know.
Brilliant.
And, yeah.
Did you go down to the were you at the Family Dinner 1 recording?
No, sadly.
I missed that as well, but a couple of the tracks, my two favorite tracks from there are Tony Sher.
Oh my God, yeah.
And
that's the man.
He says more with a few words than anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, is there anything you want to say about this record? As you know, now that you're a year, we're a year out.
I mean, I do like to, you know, especially it's very often hard for musicians and, you know, composers to go back and listen to stuff that they made a while back and be like, oh, I wish I could do that a little differently or something like that. Overall, I'm still very proud of this record. I'm really, it's my favorite thing that I've ever produced as an artist with my friends and with people that I love and trust. The process of it was really long and really interesting, more so than I'd ever planned. We did one recording session in Texas, and then months later another recording session in Brooklyn, and we used musicians from both areas. And because I've got a crew of Progger people in Texas and a crew of Progger people in New York.
Nice.
And we all collaborate on tours and on albums and things like that. So. Nice. This came together more cohesively. I was really just doing it by the seat of the pants, and it came together more cohesively than I really ever could have asked for.
That's beautiful.
It's because there's just beautiful human beings participating in it.
You want to go down the list here?
Yeah, sure.
I noticed you list yourself last in the credits. Much respect.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So I can read them off of here. Or you know them better than I do.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess we should start with the OG crew, that's what the crew that used to be Progress when we started in Austin years ago, about 6 years ago now. And
the first ones.
Probably. That's the first half of the record is that crew.
Matthew Muehling.
Yeah, we got Matt Muehling, Nick Clark, Carter Arrington, Paul Deemer, Daniel Watson, and then a new guy, Sean Giddings, who is another North Texas alumnus and a really brilliant keyboard player. He's touring with like a lot of big people nowadays, but...
So you recorded down in Austin, though? Huh?
We did, yeah. Yeah. Progger formed while I was living in Austin.
Ah, gotcha.
The official reason that I took a step back from the Snarky Puppy guys was because I began touring with other groups that were based out of Austin. So I moved there and was touring heavily on the rock scene for a few years, which is with Matt Muehling, as a matter of fact, which is why we started this group together with our friend Nick Clark, and we started booking rehearsal spaces. Nick booked the first rehearsal in 2011 just so that we could get together and play Herbie Hancock tunes, basically.
There you go.
Then I started bringing in tunes.
That's a good reason to get together.
Yeah. It's like, we just met. It was just good friends, and we were our favorite people to play with in Austin. We were like, well, we like playing together and hanging together better than anybody else in town. Let's start playing together and hanging together.
I love it when you just start with no destination and let it flow.
That's what happened. I had a stack of tunes for an old band called Moose Hound that I used to have with Phil Alaney, who is now with the Funky Knuckles. Justin Stanton was in it as well, and I had a stack of tunes. Yeah, so Steve Pruitt, the drummer and co-leader of that band, is a dear friend of mine. He moved to South Korea, and so Moose Hound wasn't playing together. I had this stack of tunes. I was like, well, I'll bring it into this thing that we started doing here in Austin, and it just, between Matt and Carter and Nick and Daniel Watson, who now lives in LA, and Paul Deemer is a unbelievably good trombone player, we started playing together and pretty soon booked a gig, then got a residency, then made an album, and then my dumbass moved to New York, and we had to figure out how to make it work from there.
So then you got your New York crew coming in here. Some names we'll recognize. I'm doing this, folks, because
the print is small.
I'm old. No, it's not. This is actually pretty good.
Me moving to New York in a lot of ways was like coming home, because so many of my friends from school and from the DFW scene were already here. not least of which, of course, were the Snarky Puppy people. So that was, so as soon as I moved to town, I started, you know, I reconnected with Justin Stanton, who used to be my roommate in Denton, and also a good friend and played in Moosehound and, you know, and in Snarky
Justin
Puppy.
just put a record out, or he has a record coming out?
He just played a gig. He just did his first solo gig, like leader gig at Rockwood, and it was fantastic.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to what that rascal does in the near future.
I think the first time I saw Snarky Puppy was just Justin.
Playing keys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Keys.
Down at the Avalon Theater or something down in Easton, Maryland. So I hadn't even seen anything with any of
I don't think I can emphasize the term rascal enough.
Yeah.
That's
so the academic glass look.
If there's any takeaway from this,
the glass look.
Justin Stanton is a rascal.
There we go.
All right.
Don't let the glasses and the academic world.
That's right.
The professor look.
East Tennessee professor talk.
Yeah, fool you. We all know.
I love that man dearly. And
awesome.
Of course, Nate Worth, an awesome dude who used to live across the street from me and Justin in Denton, and pulled no end of pranks on me. But is, you know,
He's in a permanent state of smiling.
Made in a permanent state of smiling. Probably thanks to his unbelievably badass wife, Aditi.
She's wonderful. We should just call that the Worth.
Yeah, right.
The
Worth unit. No.
Or the Nate state.
I mean, Nate is a really an incredible human being and one of the best percussionists on the face of the planet. So he contributed tremendously to the sound of this, along with our New York drummer Devin Collins.
Okay.
Who's another wonderful guy. Dan Muniz, who's a New York native, probably the only New York native in the whole crew. Aki Ishiguro, who is from part Yokohama, Japan, part Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and has a perfect blend of both.
Interesting.
Then Nick Clark came up from Austin to join on. He was playing Moog on the whole thing and killing it on the New York half. He played electric bass and Moog on the first half.
I see Brian Ladd on here now. I recognize his name, but I don't know.
Brian, who just moved to LA, gosh darn it, is one of my close friends and an unbelievable bassist. He's played with a lot of really heavy hitting people in the New York scene for many years. He's done a ton on the funk and soul and fusion scene. And we actually just played together at NAMM. He had a set for Bass Bash at NAMM, during which Fork played the next night after us, Mike and Chris McQueen and Henry Hay and Jason Thomas. So
nice.
So Ladd is fantastic. He's going to be tearing up the.
He moved out there. For good, kind of thing.
Yeah, he did.
There you go. LA's becoming a spot anymore.
I'm
not that it has, but for jazz musicians,
for sure. I'm going to be spending a lot more time out there in the next couple of years. I think largely thanks to Ladd and Daniel Watson, our other drummer who moved to LA a couple years ago too.
And be sure to connect up with some of the other folks in the fam.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spud's out there probably half the time, I'm thinking.
I think he is. Spud's been out there a lot. Of course, one of my heroes, Terrace Martin, is out there.
Adam Turchin's the guy you should work with as well. And Mark DeClivlo's out there. Yeah. Quite a crew. I actually travel to LA more than anywhere else anymore.
Yeah.
Even more than New York. I love LA. I just stay by the airport and then go swimming with the planes flying over top, and then I go do whatever I have to do.
Sounds like a plan.
So tell us what's coming up. We got a few minutes left. You're working on something new?
Yes. So we're going to be going into Atlantic Sound sometime at a date I have yet to nail down with Mike and Deco, but it will be this summer. We're gonna get tracking in probably in July, I think. And so then, a few months after that, we will have a spanking new record ready to go. The music is already written, a lot of it is already fleshed out, and we're gonna be playing it on tour for the next few months.
Nice. Have you thought about a record label yet?
Oh man, I was thinking about this. Have you heard of Columbia? They're like this little startup.
I think I've seen their thing on the label.
Real mom and pop situation. I will be preferring to release this record through Ropeadope. Please,
lovely. We'd love to have it.
And we'll be spending some time on the road in the next couple of months. We'll be doing around the Northeast, going to the Midwest, going to Canada, doing some dates in Montreal and Toronto.
Starting in May.
That'll be over the summer. That'll be starting in like June.
Okay.
Or late June, early July. But in May coming up, we're hitting my home state of New Mexico for the first time, playing Albuquerque, Santa Fe, the Wind Rider Festival in Ski Apache, southeast New Mexico, as well as Boulder, Colorado. And then hitting our old home turf of Austin and Dallas, and of course shows here in New York.
Well, let's do the plug stuff. Where can we find them?
Our social media empire is united under the term Progger Music.
Progger Music.
Which you can
really?
Remember.
Everything's the same?
Everything's the same. Facebook.
How'd you do that?
Facebook, Twitter. Turns out Progger is not a common noun in English, unlike progress. If we had kept the name Progress, that would have been a problem. But
we have bands on this label and put records out named Lady, Cabinet.
Nope.
Just like, what? I can't find you anywhere. You're on page 37 million on a Google search. So Progger, you're united. We had troubles with Ropeadope. We finally got Ropeadope Twitter, but a lot of times we're Ropeadope 99 instead.
Wow,
instead
that's
of
weird.
Ropeadope.
No, we got Progger Music.
Progger Music,
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat now.
Tell me how that goes.
I will tell you as soon as I start to figure anything out.
Well, maybe put some of those shows up on. Like, I don't even know how Snapchat works. But,
yeah, I don't either. We're gonna find out.
I'm told we'll figure it out. So tour starts. You check the dates and check Ropeadope.com. We'll put that up. And what else you want to talk about? I think we got a couple of minutes. Anything you want to say to the people out there?
Oh, just remembered I wore my Knower shirt specifically for this interview. So there's Lewis Cole and Genevieve Artadi. Just some more LA people who have had the pleasure of hanging and playing with a little bit over the last couple of years. And just hey guys, your shirt's the best. So
I didn't meet Lewis down in New Orleans, but I don't think I really even met Genevieve. Is it?
Genevieve, yeah.
Yeah, because they were like at family dinner too.
That's right. Yeah.
They were just like. And it's funny because you're in a room full of musicians, like seriously focused, creative, eclectic people, right?
Yep.
And then they were the eclectic ones.
They're
just buzzing around, being unique. You know? And it was so intimidating. Normally I'd be like, oh, hi, how you doing? But I was just like, Brian. Oh, if I can hang, they're so unique.
They
so interesting.
Are extremely unique and interesting, and also incredibly sweet and cool.
Yeah.
And
I should have taken the time.
You will. Don't worry. It's going to happen. And they're great LA people, and they are creating some of the best music in the world right now, I think.
Wow.
The last couple Knower records are two of my favorite records of the last 5 or 10 years.
Nice. I'm gonna have to dig in.
Yeah.
Everybody should. But we'll circle back around real quick. Proggermusic.com.
Proggermusic.com.
Yeah, check it out.
Yep.
And look for news this summer. But get out there on tour. I'd highly recommend it. Brian.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. Always great to see you.
Yeah, man.
All right.